Hey man, this one's going to hurt, but not because it's cruel. It hurts because it cuts through every illusion you were taught to believe since you were a boy. Every bedtime story, every romance movie, every love song that made you believe a woman's love was something eternal, something unconditional, something sacred. But here's the raw truth. Most men will only understand after getting broken in half by it. Women have never truly loved men. They've only ever loved the way a man makes them feel. Not the man himself, not the soul, not the scars, just the sensation, the experience, the emotional high. And once that high fades, so does her love. You'll hear women say it all the time. I loved him, but I fell out of love. I just don't feel the same anymore. It's not you, it's me. These aren't lies. They're reflections of how female love operates. It's momentary, conditional, rooted in feelings, not facts. Meanwhile, most men love like builders. We commit, we invest, we endure. We fall in love with the person, not just the feeling. We stay when it's hard. We fight through the storms. But her love, it was never built to last beyond the feeling. Once the emotional weather changes, she's gone. Not physically at first, but emotionally. And you'll feel that shift before she ever says it. That's the harsh distinction between male and female love. Male love is directional, purposeful. It looks toward a future. Female love is conditional. She loves who you are, but only as long as you make her feel what she wants to feel. Excitement, security, power, mystery. And when you stop delivering those sensations, you don't just lose her attention, you lose her love. And the most tragic part? You didn't even do anything wrong. You were stable, you were consistent, you were present, but that wasn't what she craved anymore. Her feelings changed, her emotions moved, and with them her love evaporated like mist in the morning sun. That's why men walk away from breakups shattered and confused. But she said she loved me. She said I was the one. She cried when she talked about our future. And yes, she meant it in that moment. But she lives in her emotions. Her words were real for her then, but her reality has already shifted, and you're still living in a promise she forgot she made. You think love is a contract, but to her, it was a scene in a movie that's already over. She's on to the next act, and you're stuck in reruns, trying to figure out what you did wrong. The truth? You didn't break her love. Her feelings just moved, and her love was never anchored to anything deeper. Let's get something straight. Women love how you make them feel. They love the version of you that activates their emotions. They love the image of you they built in their fantasy. But once that image cracks, once you become too real, too predictable, too available, that fantasy collapses, and with it goes the love. Because it was never about you, it was about the experience, the feeling, the drama, the story. And when the story gets too calm, too steady, too familiar, she gets bored. Not because you failed, but because you stopped being her emotional roller coaster. And women don't fall in love with peace. They fall in love with the thrill. It's a hard truth to accept, because as men, we're built for loyalty. We don't need constant stimulation to remain in love. We love based on who she is, not just how she makes us feel. We stay loyal to the memory, to the values, to the effort we've invested. But women are different. Their love is responsive, not stable, reactive, not rooted. You give her butterflies, she loves you. You stop giving her butterflies, she says she's confused, she starts pulling away, starts creating distance, starts looking elsewhere, not always with another man at first, but with herself. She starts dreaming of a life that feels more, not better, just more. And here's where the tragedy deepens. Most women aren't aware they love this way. They genuinely believe they're giving real love, and in a way they are, just not in the way you understand it. Their love is emotional currency. They trade it when the feeling is high and withdraw it when the market crashes. And you're left bankrupt. Because you invested everything expecting a return. She was never built to guarantee. You loved her for who she was. She loved you for how you made her feel. And the minute those paths diverged, so did her loyalty. That's why you'll see men doing everything, working overtime, showing up consistently, sacrificing, trying harder, and still getting left for a man who does less. Because it's not about effort, it's about energy, it's about how he makes her feel. If he gives her tension, mystery, distance, he creates an emotional charge, and that charge is more addictive than your stability will ever be. She won't say it out loud, she might even complain about it, but her body is drawn to the chaos, because chaos makes her feel, and in her world, love and feeling are the same thing. So once the feeling fades, the love goes with it. This is why so many men feel lost after a breakup. You thought love meant sacrifice, showing up, building a life, but she didn't want a life. She wanted a vibe, a spark, a moment. And when that moment passed, she looked at you like a stranger, not because she hates you, but because you no longer reflect the version of herself she fell in love with. It was never about you, it was always about how she felt around you. You were a mirror. And once that mirror stopped flattering her emotional image, she shattered it. And you're left trying to fix a reflection that never really saw you in the first place. So when we say women have never loved men, we don't mean they're heartless. We mean they've never loved the way we do. Their love is not unconditional. It's not based on truth. It's based on emotional momentum. You can be perfect on paper, handsome, kind, successful, and still lose her to a man with nothing but presence. Because it's not about logic. It's not about worth. It's about feeling. And the second that feeling disappears, so does her loyalty, her affection, her memories. That's the part that haunts most men. Not that she left, but how quickly she forgot everything you were together. You'll learn this the hard way. Most of us do. When she leaves and you're shattered, staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m., asking yourself, was any of it real? The truth? It was real for her in the moment, but that moment is gone. And if you try to chase it, revive it, recreate it, you'll only humiliate yourself. Because she's already replaced the entire emotional movie in her head. You're trying to get back to a scene she's already deleted. And no amount of talking, pleading, or effort will bring it back. Because her love wasn't built on principle, it was built on presence, and presence fades. So what do you do with this truth? You stop chasing unconditional love from women, you stop expecting them to love you for who you are, and you start loving yourself like no one else ever will. You build your own world, you ground yourself in truth. You move with purpose, not for approval, but for power. And if a woman joins you, great. If not, you keep moving. Because the second you start expecting her to stay just because you're loyal, you're already setting yourself up to bleed. Women were never built to love men the way men love women. And once you see that clearly, you stop trying to force a fantasy that never existed. You start to look back on your past relationships differently after this realization. Suddenly, her mood swings, her shifting energy, her cold detachment, it all makes sense. You were giving love like it was a vow. She was receiving it like it was a season, and when the season changed, she left. Not because you did something wrong, but because you no longer felt like spring, and now you're standing in the snow, still holding the flowers you picked for her, wondering why she never came back. But that's the truth. Most men don't want to accept. She was never coming back, because her love wasn't for you. It was for how she felt in that temporary spring. And the brutal reality is, the man she ran to might not even be a better man. He might be less emotionally available, less loyal, less giving, but he triggers a feeling, an emotion, a rush, and that rush is more powerful than any logical reason to stay. You can't compete with dopamine. You can't outlove her craving for novelty. And if you try, you'll only drive yourself mad, because no matter how much you improve, no matter how much you give, no matter how loyal you remain, if she's emotionally somewhere else, you've already lost. Not because you failed her, but because she was never truly yours to begin with. Just her feelings were. This doesn't mean you become bitter. It means you become wise. It means you stop over-investing in people who are only emotionally renting space in your life. You stop building castles with women who carry hammers. You stop bleeding for people who are only there for the highs. You start observing instead of attaching. You watch how long they stay after the butterflies fade. You see who shows up when the music stops. And you learn quickly that the ones who leave weren't wrong. They were just honest in their own way. Honest about the fact that their love was never for you, it was for their own experience of you. Most men will fight this truth. They'll label it as cold, misogynistic, dark, because facing it means grieving something deeper than a woman. It means grieving the fantasy that love was supposed to be mutual, that if you gave your best, you'd receive it back, that if you stayed strong, you'd be rewarded with loyalty. But grieving that illusion is liberation. Because once you let it die, you stop expecting women to be something they're not. You stop giving them the burden of being your everything, and you start turning that energy inward toward your purpose, your peace, your power. You've probably seen it happen. The guy who was everything to her, her rock, her ride or die, the man she cried over, is suddenly treated like a ghost, blocked, ignored, forgotten. It's not that he changed, it's that her feelings did, and her love, being tied to those feelings, changed with it. And you think to yourself, how can someone who once looked at him like the sun now act like he never existed? Because she was never loving him. She was loving how she felt when she believed in who he was. And when that belief cracked, the feeling left. And when the feeling left, so did her loyalty. That's why the strongest men are not the ones who loved the most. They're the ones who recovered the most. The ones who took the knife out of their back and turned it into a sword. The ones who didn't let her absence break them, but used it as a reminder to stop outsourcing their worth. They realized that no woman could ever love them the way they wanted until they first became whole on their own. And from that wholeness, they stopped needing her to stay. They stopped begging her to feel. They started walking their own path. And ironically, that's when women started chasing, not because they loved more, but because now they felt more. Once you accept that her love is based on emotional momentum, you learn to stop giving her your entire identity. You can enjoy her, you can cherish her, but you don't hinge your sanity on her loyalty. You don't build your purpose around her presence. Because the moment she no longer feels the same, she won't hesitate to rewrite the entire story in her head. And if you haven't built something stronger than her opinion of you, you'll fall, you'll spiral, you'll beg, and she won't feel pity, she'll feel disgust. Because the man who once felt like her rock is now reduced to rubble. And that's when you finally understand you weren't loved, you were useful. Women don't fall in love with the man, they fall in love with the frame the man holds, the world he creates, the emotions he evokes. And if that frame breaks, if you become too soft, too emotional, too reactive, she steps out of it because she didn't fall for your soul, she fell for your energy. And now that the energy is gone, the illusion breaks. This is why she can love one man for years and then turn cold overnight. Because her love was never anchored in his being. It was anchored in how he made her feel about herself. And when that feeling disappeared, so did the version of him she once adored. You'll see it in her eyes. That coldness, that distance, that indifference. You'll see it when she's texting while you're speaking, when she's scrolling instead of leaning in, when she says, "I love you," but her body feels miles away. And in those moments, you'll remember the fire, the passion, the connection that once felt unbreakable. And you'll wonder, where did she go? But the real question isn't where did she go? It's who was she ever loving in the first place? Was it you? Or was it the way she saw herself through you? And once that reflection faded, did her love fade with it? You have to stop chasing proof that you were enough. You were always enough. She just stopped feeling it. And once her feelings changed, she couldn't access love anymore. That doesn't diminish your worth. It reveals her emotional model. And when you see that, really see it, you stop grieving her and you start grieving the fantasy. The idea that love was mutual, that loyalty was given, not earned. And in that grief, you find your freedom. You find the part of yourself that was always waiting to be claimed, not by her, but by you. It's not that all women are incapable of love. It's that most women are incapable of loving in the way men hope to be loved, with stability, with consistency, with permanence. Their love moves like water, yours stands like a mountain, and that's why you crumble when she flows away, because you expected the river to stay. But rivers don't stay, brother. They move, they adapt, they leave, and the only thing that stands is the ground beneath them. Be that ground. Be so whole, so rooted, so anchored, that whether she stays or leaves, you remain unmoved. So stop asking if she ever really loved you. The answer is yes, but only in the moments she felt it, not in the way you hoped, not in the way you stayed. And that's okay. That's not your failure. That's just nature. And once you accept that, you'll stop bleeding for closure that will never come. You'll stop trying to make her understand what she's already forgotten. You'll stop proving your worth to someone who was never qualified to define it in the first place. You'll love differently, not with walls, but with wisdom, not with fear, but with clarity. And that clarity, that's what separates the men who heal from the men who repeat the same mistake. So here's the final truth. Women have never loved men the way men love women. and maybe they never will. But that doesn't mean you stop loving. It means you start loving differently, with boundaries, with purpose, with self-respect. You stop trying to be her fantasy. You stop chasing her feelings. You build your kingdom. You live in truth. And when a woman enters that world, she either adapts or exits. But you never bend again, because you finally understand her love is a flame. Yours is the furnace. And when you stop expecting the flame to warm you forever, you light your own fire. And that, brother, that is where freedom begins.